So I'm gonna do a quick video because I've been getting questions. Really, actually, I just really don't feel like fucking working right now. This is just way easier. Uh, Keto versus carb cycling and what they are. I hope to keep this somewhat brief and somewhat concise that you guys understand. So, a true keto diet, which is usually not what a bodybuilding keto diet is about 70% fats, about 25% proteins, and about 5% carbs. And those carbs predominantly being fibers. There's some net carbs in there, like green beans has 1 or 2 grams, stuff like that. But you have to have the roughage, otherwise the keto will just completely jam you up. Um, Having said that, a carb cycling diet. Let's go back to the keto for a second, actually. So the keto, which has been shown in studies to be just as effective as carb cycling. In fact, they're identical, and the reason being is that most people don't stick with a diet. So the big key to this is consistency. So if you pick a diet, you have to stick to the diet 100%. And this is why I prefer carb cycling over keto, because it's easier to be a functional person, which is what we all want to be, and we don't want to be living the bodybuilding lifestyle because it's bullshit. You see people walking around with their bags and their meals, and truth is they don't even know what the hell's in there. They're kind of a lost cause, in my opinion. And by the way, 6-pack bags, you have the worst bags ever. They last like 2 weeks and fell apart. Anyway, so back to the keto diet. The keto diet is fairly easy. You want to keep your insulin levels down. It keeps your blood glucose down. It will help to reset people who are pre-diabetic, and help to get your blood sugars fasted down. And those are the positives of the keto diet. The keto diet, I personally like to do it very clean. I use a lot of beef, I use a lot of fatty fish, and I use a lot of avocado, olive oil, not cooked olive oil dumped on top of everything after you're done. Because once you change the chemical temperature of most fats, especially canola oil, they become trans fats. And this is where you have other problems then that come in, and this is why people's diets fail. The big thing with keto and carb cycling, and actually any diet for that matter, is to eat at least every 3 hours. If you do not eat every 3 hours, your body, if you're in a caloric deficit, will go crazy with hunger. It really has nothing to do with the 7 meals a day or da-da-da-da-da. The 7 meals a day is for bigger guys who want to keep their stomachs down. That's kind of where it comes in. Most people, 4 or 5 meals a day, you're pretty good. But you want to do it every 3 hours. Even if for the last meal of the day is just, say, egg whites or something like that. But you want to have that every 3 hours, otherwise you're just going to go crazy. So anyway, back to the keto. So if you're doing a keto diet, I also prefer not to do a keto because it has slightly inflammatory purposes if you're using really a lot of whole eggs. Because whole eggs have a lot of omega-6s, and omega-6s are very high in inflammation, things like arachidonic acid, that also are shown to help with muscle growth, because there actually are diets and there is a proper time for inflammation. Prior to working out is probably actually the best time that you don't want to subdue the inflammation process, because it'll help with the growth phase. Like personally, I won't take an NSAID or an Advil or any of those things right before I work out, because I don't want to subdue the inflammation at that point in time. Anyway, back to the keto. So first thing in the morning, you do your whole eggs with some spinach. Your next meal is some fish with some cucumbers. You want it to be 30 grams of protein, maybe 50 grams of fat per meal. Obviously, based on your size, you're going to have to figure out the macros a little bit better than that, but I'm just trying to give you a ballpark number to get started. And you basically will do that I keep looking at my dog, if you guys are wondering what I'm looking at over there. She's like being a goofball. anywhere between, I would say, 4 to 6 meals a day for the pretty much the average size person. If you're really tiny, 3 obviously, and then so forth. Or I personally, I would just shrink them and spread them out though, because it's just easier on your stomach, and that's back to my whole digestive health thing. So that's a quick look into the keto, and then with carb cycling. And why I prefer carb cycling is you do get off track with carb cycling and you do ingest some fats, whereas in keto, you can't ingest any carbs the whole time you're doing it. So for 5 days, 6 days, however many days straight you decide to do it, you can't have any carbs during that time. And then for, let's say, a 4 to 8 hour period on a Saturday, Sunday, whatever, eating wings, having a beer or whatever. I don't do any of those things, but I'm trying to relate. You'll have that 4 to 8 hour window where you pretty much ingest whatever you want. Now, the caloric intake should still be the same. So if you're eating 3,000 calories a day, your caloric intake for that day should still be around 3,000. I wouldn't go any more than that. Then obviously other issues will come in: swelling, lethargia, stomach discomfort, bloating, distension. You just keep going. So that's why I prefer the carb cycling, is because you can go off of it a little bit and you won't feel the kickback as hard. So with carb cycling, what I like to do is, depending on my split, on my days off, I do 100 grams of carbs or less. On my working out days of smaller body parts, I will do 250 grams of rice, which that's not 250 grams of carbs, 250 grams of rice. Twice a day, I will do a whole cup of oatmeal first thing in the morning, and those are my 3 carb meals. First thing in the morning after cardio, right before the gym, right after the gym. Now, some of you are going to want to do intra-carbs. If you work out for more than 45 minutes, I am a firm believer in intra-carbs. If you're working out less than an hour, I don't think you need them. Because I don't know about you, but it seems to take a lot longer than that for stuff to go through my stomach. So the high days would be, say, leg day, where you're not doing any cardio, or a back day where you have more compound movements. And on those days, you could double, triple, depends on your body type. So if you're a mesomorph, I mean, you see some of the guys out there in the 250, 260 off-season range, they're pushing, I would say, probably 1,000 grams of carbs on that up day. Me personally, I don't like to go above 500, but I'm also only 200 pounds. I don't even think I'm 200 right now, actually, which is really kind of ridiculous. That's horrible. I have no fat left. Anyway, so that's a quick look into carb cycling and keto. Feel free to ask me questions. I can go into more in depth once I have some direction with you guys where you want to go with it. So like I said, the carb cycling is easier. You're going to take your carbs first thing in the morning, before you train, after you train. On your heavy days, you can have another meal of carbs, or you can increase the amount of carbs for those meals. Your choice. I still prefer the 3 times, and that's it. And then with the keto, you have to make sure that you are no carbs at all for like 4 or 5 days, sometimes 6, depends on the person and how you want to go. The first 2 or 3 days of that diet is going to be rough until you get used to it. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. I would highly, highly, highly recommend digestive enzymes during that meal. All those meals with keto, rather. The carb cycling diet is a little bit easier on your stomach, in my opinion anyway. And I have a really sensitive stomach. It's a bitch-ass stomach. So that's basically it. If you're a little bit confused, I would say do some research on there into the carb cycling and the glycemic index of carbs, and use low glycemic index carbs if you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to gain muscle, you want to use a little bit higher glycemic carbs. And in the keto, obviously, you're just trying to get shredded. So that would just be, fats. You can even go bacon, turkey bacon, stuff like that. And that's the appeal to that diet for a lot of people, because they get to go fat and sodium. So if you guys have any questions, leave them on the bottom. If you like the video, subscribe. If you hate the video, unsubscribe. And I'll try to do a part 2 to this, and hopefully I don't know. Hopefully I didn't confuse you anymore. Thanks.